Good morning, everyone. We're back. If you're hearing fire or emergency vehicles in the background from me, maybe they're coming over from Meta, which fell something like 15% yesterday on poor earnings. Let's actually look that up right now. Holy shit. They're actually down 22% in pre-market, so actually way worse than after they announced earnings. So I'm not sure what's changed between yesterday at 5 p.m. and now, but it's definitely not looking good for the Zuck. You'll see on screen, we actually started showing, some of the hottest memes on WallStreetBets. So, hopefully that makes this pre-show a little more interesting. If it does, let me know in the comments. And I'm still working on getting those Reddit comments synced into the regular chat, but pretty much done. So should have that for you by tomorrow. With that being said, it is 8:29. So let's kick off the show. Another beautiful day of not being a meta bag holder. Feels great. Not sure everyone can relate though. Let's get some people up here and let's talk about it. Well, we actually had a 2-hour talk yesterday with Simple and Loose. So if you want to hear the raw emotions, you can go check that out in the Twitch or YouTube link in the comments. But yeah, how are you guys all doing? Any of you guys holding Meta?
Yeah, I bought a call yesterday afternoon. Brilliant.
I deleted the app about 2 weeks ago.
Good morning. No call, no puts, just sat on the side.
Does Meta earnings include WhatsApp and Instagram, or is it just literally Facebook?
Nope.
Into everything, yeah.
I hold 200 shares. I'm fucked up.
Ouch.
Yeah, I'm here just to smoke some copium too. Fucking drop 20 grand on calls and fucked.
Ooh.
I put a big chunk on calls. Well, start over today.
This is the Meta bag holders chat.
GDP with the beat as well. Well, it's definitely going up today.
I think Meta is going to go down some more.
Hopefully below 100.
I looked at their slide deck, and one thing that kind of tickles my brain is they mention data in terms of users per day or users per month, but what they're not measuring is users per hour or time spent per user on Facebook, and see what that metric is. I didn't really see that anywhere, but measuring it in days or measuring users per month, like even I might check into Facebook like for a minute if somebody interesting posts something or something like that. But I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook myself, so I'm not really worth it for them to try to use me to in their advertising numbers, because I don't see any ads on there. So I think they need to go a little more granular on their data to get more accurate of what's really going on there.
The only reason they don't disclose the metric you are asking is because they would basically, look like a shit even more they are losing against TikTok as Google is. So that's obvious that they won't release per hour, per user kind of metrics.
Yeah, my implication exactly. I agree. They're still covering up for how badly they're actually doing.
Well, I think part of it is that you want to use metrics that are easily understandable and common across the industry, so you can compare how many users Facebook has versus Twitter or so on. But I think the other part is just like it's kind of hard to measure. Like if I have a tab open with Facebook on it, does that mean I was on it for like 12 hours, or was it just and every company is gonna kind of measure it differently, and they're gonna do whatever tricks they can to make it look better for them. So I think that's why they don't do it. It's quite a tricky thing to do, honestly and fairly.
And I think login rate versus, and maybe not even login rate, because that's not a fair metric, but I think you hit the nail on the hammer there, opinion, because it's really about what metric really makes sense at the end of the day is how many users are still quote unquote active. How they measure that is really irrelevant because that can be skewed, as everyone's mentioned earlier.
Yeah, but that at this point that doesn't matter. What the market is reacting is basically if you see the presentation they released on slide 17, it was the free cash flow. Basically they erased their average free cash flow. They used to present on average 8 billion. It was 8 billion free cash flow each quarter. And this time they just presented 173 million. So that's the repricing you are seeing in the market.
I see that, and I see that the EPS, the expected versus reported, was missed, and the revenue was by surprise by what, not even enough to even talk about. Really, it was like what, 40%, if that. So at the end of the day, I once was told that it doesn't matter if the accounting came in good or came in bad, because really it's just about tricky accounting, because they could be doing that for the next quarter earnings just to make that look better than it was before.
They also.
I mean, I'm guessing we're talking about Meta, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, right now, and I don't know if they're doing enough right now. They certainly doesn't sound like they're trying to do anything. They need to be in turnaround mode. This is, this has been expected since they've recorded that first negative user growth. When they're losing more users than they're losing those eyes. They're gonna lose the advertising revenue. So they're either gonna have to do something big with Oculus, get the metaverse like actually profitable, or they're gonna be in some really deep trouble soon.
But it's too soon for that turnaround. It takes when you do these kind of turnarounds strategically, basically it takes years. Okay, it was just 3 quarters ago when they rebranded the whole thing and launched this Meta thing. I think until 3-5 years, you won't see any kind of positive signs from their Oculus and whatever. So I think we still have to wait. It's too early.
Well, by all means, it's not going to happen overnight. We're still 2 years into the GameStop turnaround, but I have yet to hear anything about them even saying they're formulating a turnaround.
The issue with Meta is that they're not an innovative company. They're not innovating. They either copy copyright infringement or they buy them out. They are not innovative. So I don't feel any kind of bullish sentiment on that regard. The only reason I even bought calls was because of the possible P to E ratio, and then, the political campaign and the ad revenue that should have been added to that, but it seemed like it made barely a difference.
Being innovative being innovative or not innovative doesn't really matter when you've got that much cash to make acquisitions. It's just a matter of are you going to pivot. They don't have to make it; they can buy it. Who cares? And in a lot of cases, that might be a smarter business decision and cheaper and slow and speed up their turnaround.
Yeah, it's basically outsourcing the innovation.
They need to find a way
It's
to.
a lot more common than you think.
Ideas are very rarely what make companies amazing. It's the execution on those ideas. A quick example, I'm fairly sure most people here can make a better hamburger than McDonald's, but I challenge anyone here to sell more hamburgers than McDonald's does. So that said, we recognize that Meta is down. We recognize the market hates Meta. Is there a play here, or should we move on?
I'm just going to throw out there. I work in the VR industry. I am one of the many people who has been fairly negative on Facebook / Meta / Oculus since the acquisition. And I only recently have started to have some optimism about the company and the product. All of the hate that they're getting over the price point for the Quest Pro is very misplaced. I think a lot of people don't understand that the industry at large is pivoted to recognize that the place where you can actually make money right now is in servicing the enterprise customers, and there's a lot of money to be made in that space. And if you look at their earnings for the last quarter compared to last year's quarter, right, the real negative print here, I think everyone's freaking out that EPS is down almost 50% from last quarter. I'm sorry, from last year. But if you back out the $3.6 billion that they spent within the Reality Labs space, their EPS is basically in line with what it was. And as far as use goes versus active users, that whole conversation, they beat revenue expectations despite ad prices coming down by almost 20% because they managed to increase total ad impressions. And so to me, it like the fact that this is trading at, 10 times last year's earnings because they're dumping so much money into Reality Lab seems like it's turned into a longer term play. So who knows how long the market hates it, but I think it's probably the first time it's been compelling to look at it in the last 6 years. So
So you're
that's all I would
saying
say.
it's a deep value play now?
I don't know if I would go as far as saying deep value play, but I would definitely say that a company with $4 billion in cash that brings in as much cash as they do at the PE ratio that they are at right now is definitely a more interesting long-term play. I don't think this is going to be some crazy, 3x, 5x in the short term, but in the long term, I think that they're definitely positioning themselves to actually capitalize on all the cash that they've been throwing off. So just my 2 cents. I think the biggest black eye for them is how much money they've spent on share buybacks in the last 12 months. I bet they wish they could take that back, but
Well, we appreciate that. I'm going to just list some plays real quick that's in the comment section. I got Byjohn Colby saying SPY 372. I got Imwit A John 7 saying positive GDP. Actually, a lot of comments saying about the GDP is up 2.6% and some links everywhere. Time says I'm buying 2,000 worth of Meta by the time it gets to $85. Cat's Mom 63 says, can someone please speak about how the possible rail strike will affect the stock? And then Tuesday Fly Big Ballin says CLNE with no play. Hardy has his Gamma Max Cross and Delta Nutra Cross plays up. You want to check those out. D Jar, I'm not going to try to pronounce that. Something about Kintar Pharma, something about male baldness. Check it out.
Okay, guys, I'm just sharing the link of the live press by the ECB. It's about to start in 3 minutes, so that's going to also bring some reaction in the market because basically we're going to talk about their decision about the interest rates.
I can chime in on railroads if anyone's actually interested in it.
Shoot, go for it.
The company I work for is one of probably the top 4 or 5 customers of every major Class 1 railroad. And the general theme across every one of the railroad is that performance sucks. They don't have enough people, and their rail cars will sit without power, which is an industry term for saying they don't have the people to actually move the rail cars along for multiple days, which is almost unheard of. Like, railroads have been very profitable and a really good bet historically because of their impeccable timing on keeping rail cars moving, keeping trains moving, and that just has not been the case basically since COVID hit, and it's exacerbated alongside the like the quality of life issues that are triggering these strikes. So my 2 cents is they're underperforming in the industry. I don't know if they've been able to continue to increase tariff rates to offset that loss in total turn time between each rail car.
So basically, if they go on strike, it's going to be bad for not only the rail stocks. So we had this play when before they came up with that tentative deal where a lot of people were putting puts. I say I wasn't one of them, but there were a lot of people who were up here speaking who are getting puts on Norfolk Southern, CSX, and Union Pacific. So the risk is, do they within the near term come up with another deal that does not get rejected? Because that's what killed a lot of those puts before, was right before the strike was supposed to happen, they came out with that tentative deal, and then those stocks shot right back up.
The U.S. government will not allow railroads to have an extended strike. It won't happen. There will be some sort of bailout package if need be to keep oil, grains, and other commodities moving, because if you don't have that, you have an absolute catastrophe. I wouldn't believe for a minute that you have longer than a 5 or a 10-day strike max.
But I mean, the moment they do go on a strike, if you have puts loaded up already, you would probably get some value on it. Once that strike starts, you're probably too late to get to get in. So just, you're going to have to watch this issue like a hawk to figure out when and if you want to get in.
So what's the best play if you want to bet on the strike?
Puts on either CSX, Union Pacific, or Norfolk Southern.
Thank you.
I got to play. Good morning, everybody. Just looking at Domino's Pizza, I'm thinking maybe like sort of a pairs trade, calls on Domino's Pizza since McDonald's beat earnings. These companies tend to do really well in a recession. I was speaking to somebody who said that calls on Domino's entering the last recession was one of the best trades that he ever made, one of the highest grossing trades he ever made. I don't know, I'm looking at the 330 calls, short term, just a quick in and out today before the market drags everything down tomorrow with what I expect to be some bad data.
People are asking in the comment section, just real fast, sorry about that, any plays on Amazon? And also, what about Apple? Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to, one more play related to railroads, and I think people are missing the boat and focusing on the strike and not focusing on Taiwan. A substantial amount of the volume going through Class 1 railroads, specifically the BNSF, goes Pacific Northwest for export to Southeast Asia. My play on railroads would be keeping a very, very, close eye in Ukraine and Russia's progress there. Because if Russia makes progress, I think that emboldens China and Taiwan. Also focus on how China's tensions with Taiwan continue to increase. If China were to invade Taiwan, exports to Southeast Asia would essentially dry up. They're the big dog. They're the only one with any substantial volume that matters. And you would have basically complete destruction of that trade flow, and railroads would suffer, drastically.
Thank you. ECB is about to start here in about 2 seconds.
I have some plays on oil.
Go ahead.
Shell and Total had their report this morning. They beat expectations, went up like 5-6%. I see that ExxonMobil is already trading a little bit higher in sympathy, but tomorrow I'm expecting a beat as well. So do some weekly calls, and I'll be start buying puts because the GDP data is really good. So I think that gives Jerome Powell more leverage to hike higher in December as well. I think the economy is not slowing down. The unemployment claims are also lower than expected. So yeah, in general, that's not good for the inflation. So I think there will be some really strong talks from Jerome on Wednesday during the rate hike decision.
So we're saying we've got positive numbers, so it looks like the recession's over. Does that mean that kind of emboldens him to do that 75 basis point hike?
Yeah, because that means that the current hikes are not having the effect that he wants, which means slowing down the economy and lowering inflation. And well, the current numbers are not showing any positive results regarding inflation. So I think he can just keep hiking because there's no effect on current GDP numbers.
Well, I mean, the main thing is a lot of people were concerned that if he went too aggressive with the rate hikes, it would kill the economy. I mean, inflation's another thing, but with this, it kind of says, "Hey, look, we can raise these interest rates. It's not killing the economy. We had growth."
But
Yeah,
it's
true.
not growth that they're looking for. They're trying to raise unemployment.
Yeah, and it was lower than expected. That came at the same time as the GDP data. So yeah, short term, of course, that's really bullish, but I think that there's no reason to slow down because he doesn't see any effects. So there's no short-term recession probably if GDP stays high or higher than expected. So why would the Fed pivot now if they don't even see any reaction and the market is, or at least the economy is doing fine?
Totally agree. They will go, very hawkish now with this data that has been released. Very hawkish.
Agreed. I'm going to be getting some puts at close today to swing into tomorrow. I have a feeling the just the data coming out tomorrow, the PCE is going to come in hot, just going on the backs of what we've seen from Europe and around the rest of the world. It doesn't seem to be stopping anywhere, so I don't see what's going to change here in the U.S. So I'm thinking about some 375 SPY puts at close.
So I know right now a lot of people are kind of pricing in that 75 point basis hike. What do we feel like are the odds that with all this data coming out, he goes more than that?
Zero.
Absolutely zero.
But he will say that at the next interest hike, that 75 basis point is probably still on the table, and that is definitely not priced in.
So just as everybody was just mentioning, they are going to raise the ECB interest rates by 75 basis points will increase inflation further. They expect to raise interest rates sooner and to reach the inflation to be their target of 2%. And they will consider raising basis points by a meeting-to-meeting basis approach. And then just goes on to say about how food and everything's expensive and blah, 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 blah.
Any FX people here? How's the euro reacting to this hike?
Euro is plummeting.
It's plummeting.
Yeah, because apparently the market thinks that 75 basis points is not enough. So the euro is going down again.
I mean, personally, I foresee that they're
and
going to make it more than 75 basis points, but that's just me.
Wait, you're saying the euro is plummeting? The euro's been on a tear.
No, it went down like more than 0.5% after the rate hike announcement.
You got that chart reversed, man.
mean, we're
If
talking about like the last couple minutes, not.
Oh, like okay, since this talk started or some shit.
Yeah, I'm literally talking since the announcement. Through the last 5 days, the euro went up.
It went from 49 to 56. So
yeah, it's
So I
pretty much
can
almost at parity.
I can kind of feel Hardy's eyes twitching. Like, what does this mean for plays? Are you guys like, trading Forex or?
All right, so something interesting here, if you guys want to note, I posted in the comments the contribution by GDP by category. It's on page 8 of the PDF that the BEA publishes, and it gives you a better breakdown of where the actual growth is coming from, as opposed to just saying, oh, the number is up 2.6%. What's notable is a lot of that growth is actually coming from services and exports. So whereas fixed income investment from businesses is way down.
How much of that's from energy?
Give me a sec. I can find that number for you.
I guess there's gonna be a press release by the ECB at 3:45 p.m. European time. I don't know if anybody wants to talk about that.
What part of European time? Like Germany?
I have no idea. I don't.
I would imagine they mean Central European time, so Germany, Eastern time plus 6 hours.
Thank you, Nate.
His quarters.
Is that? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you can go ahead. I was going to talk about something different.
Yeah, me too. Actually, given that yesterday, I think I read that the mortgage rates in the US were again, on the record, plus 7%. Is anyone playing any short play on the, house
Yeah, I got
housing
some
market?
TOL, which is Toll Brothers. Just those. It's a builder. It's a really premium builder for luxury homes, but also mid-family homes around $300,000, $400,000. I believe those kind of companies will. So TOL, Toll Brothers, will definitely be. It would be bought in already, I think, and then the news will probably come out probably November.
Okay, I have some puts on the ITB is the ticker. It's an ETF of home builders in the US. With the I think the date was for January, February next year. So hopefully we'll get priced.
Okay, one thing that came up on my. Go ahead, Glenn.
No, I was gonna say the home builders play is it'll be a good setup going into the FOMC meeting. We should see like a large rise in yields after the FOMC meeting, which should send the home builders ETFs significantly lower.
Yeah, XHB, which is the Spider Home Builders ETF, actually just came up on my volatility radar, and they've made a 4-point move, which is a lot for them in the past week. So I don't know if it's quite worth it yet, but like increased volatility means increased contract prices, and I don't know how much squeeze you're going to get out of that, but. It does reaffirm the case.
I'm looking into some very, very, very long-term leap calls on the ICLN. That's the iShares Clean Energy ETF, ICLN. Front page article in the New York Times today saying the war in Ukraine is likely to speed up the shift to clean energy, and that's according to the International Energy Agency, who put out a large 350-page report. The New York Times article is pretty interesting to read. It breaks down how they're expecting an increase in like $2 trillion going into that investment into that world, and governments, they're looking for more governments to step in and throw even more money at that. So that's very long term. I'm still waiting for the market to kind of hit a solid sideways bottom, but then I'm definitely going super long on that.
Just a note to add for clean energy, you might want to wait until the end of the election cycle, because if the Congress change the makeup of party alignment, it could be very difficult to get funding for these green infrastructures.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm still bullish on fossil fuels as well. But I'm looking to take an early position here.
Just to let everybody know that AutoNation and Sonic, AN and SAH reported this morning, both missed. AutoNation reported used car sale grosses down 22%, or revenues down 22%. So they should, I'm expecting them to go down today and tomorrow, as Lithia did last week. I will most likely exit the play by midday tomorrow, taking whatever I have left in profit and moving on to others. I should be playing Apple calls at the end of the day. I'm going to look at it more. Just believe that somehow, from what we heard from a few folks, that they make their number.
At what time is Apple reporting?
Post market's all I know.
4:05.
My puts for Apple are in the money right now, up 50%. I actually just might sell them before we even get to that point. But that's not in the spirit of WallStreetBets, so maybe I'll just hold them.
I have puts at the 148 strike expiry tomorrow. I don't think they hit earnings. I think they're going to be in line with every other tech stock that we're having, that it's either going to barely meet or miss earnings, and the forecast isn't going to be all that rosy.
For the guy that was asking about the energy side, the link is in the comments. They don't publish it for the advanced number, but I pulled the historical. It's tiny, man. It's under mining. It's like 0.03.
Great, thanks.
Did anyone get in on the Visa earnings play?
I'm sad I missed it. I watched it happen and was like, God damn it.
Yeah, I'm sad I missed that one.
Anybody notice that Raytheon price surged after everybody's lowering their price targets? I mean, overall, defense sector has been rallying like crazy.
It's almost like there's a war in Europe.
I think they're reporting this week too, right?
Go ahead.
I said, isn't Raytheon reporting this week? I know one of the defense stocks is.
They already did, and they beat.
So I was just going to state real quick. People want to know about Credit Suzy. Also, Snoo Beans 322 wants to know anyone buying Meta tonight.
You mean
I don't know what
Credit
tonight
Suisse?
means. Go ahead.
Do you mean Credit Suisse?
Credit Suisse. Sorry, yeah.
Credit
Yeah,
Suisse.
they're going the way of Lehman Brothers, as far as I'm concerned.
I still have my puts, from the last time when we had those headlines. So let's see.
Did anyone see their report? Like, they had 4 billion revenue and like 3.8 billion in tax. Like, it was quite weird.
Yeah, it was kind of a readjustment. 3 point something billion. Nothing.
I'm interested in longing Meta, to answer that user's question. For those of you that have been listening to me for a little while, you know that I previously had 120 puts on Meta that I bought when Meta was at $220 a share. Those puts have, well, we'll just say they've printed pretty hard. However, now that that's done, I do think that between $100 and $80 is a great price range for Meta. And I believe as it starts to actually enter and become an actual value stock in that range. And I will be looking at buying shares and long dated calls as well, and probably shares in my Boomer portfolio.
So you're saying sell puts on Meta?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind getting assigned, and that's a better, might as well get paid to buy them, right?
I have a prediction that Meta will go up to 114 today by the end of the day. That's my prediction. There's no DD on that. Please take that with a grain of salt. Just back in the comment section real quick. Just seeing Spare Bumblebee 6889 with no DD saying Saudis are in talk regards buying Credit Suisse, Susie. And then furthermore, people want to know about what you guys think about Pinterest, and also want to know what you think about basically just Credit Suisse. And people are saying snap calls, and that's about it. That's all I'm wanting to read right now.
Pinterest is the MySpace of this decade.
But doesn't Pinterest also gets most revenue from ads? So that's easy puts.
Don't these companies start
Facebook
to
was the
think
next
that maybe we're sick of seeing so many ads? I don't know. Maybe they'll wake up. I know I'm sick of seeing so many fucking ads.
Why would Pinterest be puts on ads? They're not reliant on other devices, right? Don't people go to Pinterest to look up like recipes and stuff like that? I mean, I don't see how they would be affected by, like, say, Apple, working on privacy settings.
I don't think Pinterest was collecting data quite the level Meta was.
Speaking of ads, has anyone mentioned that Netflix? Well, they look like an easy call purchase today.
In other news that makes no sense, Shopify didn't lose as much money as everybody thought, and they're up pre-market.
They're probably going to stay up.
The competition double 420 wants to know why 114 Meta with no DD. I just do. Snoobeans 322 wants to know any view on Oxy upcoming earnings.
Are we talking about Occidental Petroleum? Is that the ticker?
Oh, that's why.
Bullish on Oxy. That's gonna be a crowded trade.
Well, Total and Shell beat this morning, so calls should be pretty safe.
Bad boy Artie wants to know why is DB Deutsche Bank still green after being rated for taxes 2 times?
Because the rates produce no evidence.
And that's not news. Like, how
that's
often do they commit crimes?
That's a feature of Deutsche Bank. A feature.
I mean, that's just a feature of Germany. They will bust in your house for whatever reason.
And not for nothing, but tax evasion is very profitable.
I think this is the definition of it's already priced in.
And Vari9 wants to know anyone trading on Intel earnings today.
I am. 1 second. What the hell's my positions? I took out a credit spread against them, and I'm looking to close the short leg of that today and hold the long put. So that was around October, or sorry, beginning of October, so the week after September earnings. Open that at selling the 22.5 put. So I'm going to get rid of that leg today and then keep the 17.5s, hoping for a down movement. If not, it's already paid for, so whatever.
I'm in a similar boat. I got some 22.5, 25, and 7 elongated 17.5 puts. Yeah, hopefully they print.
If I can cut back to the Oxy OXY, tomorrow ExxonMobil reports XOM. I will also be buying calls for them.
Meta at 100 currently.
Helicopter, are you going to exit your position on AutoNation?
Yes, I reported that earlier. AutoNation missed and SAH missed. I'll put that in the notes for everybody else. anybody else that asks. And I will be exiting those positions most likely midday tomorrow, depending on price action. I just see them going down for a couple of days like Lithia did last week.
Just to add for petroleum plays, Shell just reported excellent earnings, so I think you know, they should be pretty good earnings for all petroleum sectors.
Thomas Surge wants to know what's the plan for Ford after yesterday's report, and then furthermore, contribution fund 8978 says Twitter calls ?
Oh, Twitter calls?
Twitter calls like a boss.
How
This
could you
was
get Twitter
discussed.
calls? What is there to get? It's
This
got like
was
15 cents left.
I will
Yeah, but-
sell him Twitter calls for $1 a share.
This was discussed last night on my show, and the consensus was 2 cents or less Twitter calls, slightly above the money of the acquisition price. If it doesn't go through for any reason, it's going to be an easy 20 bagger, because those long dated calls will immediately get their value back. However, it's very, very likely 99.99% of the time this deal goes through, those go to zero. But it's, very asymmetric payoff for an event.
Yeah, if you can get those for 2 cents or less, absolutely. Go. I mean, that's the cheapest lottery ticket ever.
Right, exactly.
But if the deal doesn't go through, wouldn't Twitter just go back to $30? Or are you saying if there's some type of delay to the deal, I guess is what your point is. Right? Because it would just shoot back down if the deal gets canceled somehow magically.
Well, DOJ might be reviewing. That's like the Hail Mary that people.
DOJ is not reviewing.
If I may, quick, on those 55 January 2025 calls for Twitter, if you go and look, just over the last few days, the stock price and the value of those contracts have been moving opposite of each other, like opposite of what they should be. And if you go back and look for I believe it was the same strike price, but a earlier date. I'm trying to remember which ones I was looking at because the 2025s weren't available at the time. But July 9 and July 11, Twitter price went down. Those calls went up in value. And that was about the time where Elon said he was pulling out the deal.
Just want to add something that there's you guys can tell me whether this is news or rumors that Twitter stock might get suspended on the New York Stock Exchange tomorrow because there's a deadline that is tomorrow. So whatever plays you might have, you might want to take that into consideration, and you might not be able to do anything with Twitter stock tomorrow.
He's
buying them.
Just so I'm
delisted.
Just so that I'm aware of what's going on. I believe the thesis behind buying those $55 calls is basically if something happens and the acquisition does get blocked,
Well, I don't mean to interrupt you, Latter Day. I don't mean to interrupt you, Latter Day. But as Hardy was mentioning, there is a delisting notice. I believe it's with the is it FCC or something like that? Hardy, if you don't mind touching on
FCC.
that. Yeah. So I don't imagine that would be public notice, and then something would pull back, and then that'd be like such a manipulated play.
The Form
There's
15.
just a million other things you could do.
The Form 15 has been filed, because yesterday I didn't see it when I was on Edgar. The Form 15 has been filed to delist Twitter.
How come something is going that quick?
And there's no backing out of that, guys. Like there's no there's no a form that you can put on top of that to change anything. Like it is what it is.
Well, I'm just asking because I've not seen this Form 15 for Twitter yet. So
Reuters has an article stating that it's getting delisted tomorrow.
Okay, that's a news source. I'm asking for the form.
I was going to say I don't know if the specific form is listed within the article. I haven't had a chance to read it. Just that's where you could look and see if they've listed it out.
I think really what that article is telling you is that the New York Stock Exchange has to delist them because if the deal closes after the trading day, you can't have it be there on Monday if it's private. So I think it's more of a forced delisting, not like someone has filed for it to be delisted.
there's just so many other plays out there. Like, just don't. Why would you even touch that? There's just so many other opportunities to make money where don't involve a company that's going to get
Because it's
delisted.
provocative.
Elon just tweeted like a few minutes ago. I posted on the comments.
Did he bring a toilet this time?
So, out of curiosity, do you think Musk will follow through on his promise to lay off 75% of Twitter?
Definitely.
Because those people will start competing for jobs in the relatively few job openings that exist in the rest of the tech space. So I'm kind of curious if this is going to be if not the catalyst to bring about the unemployment going up, the cascading effect.
The other question is, does he move Twitter's headquarters?
The real question is, what value do Twitter employees have to bring to other tech companies, if any?
Software engineers are in high demand, Scald. I still get calls from recruiters out of the blue.
Oh yeah. I mean,
question
that's a little different. I don't know. I would assume he's not going to lay off core developers, but I mean, I could be
not
wrong.
developers. There's assume if it were even across the board, I agree, but more likely the layoffs will be weighted heavily in the likes of AR, BizOps, FinOps, that kind of stuff, or HR.
Do they
Excuse me.
do they have a chief people officer? Are chief people officers still high in demand?
Chief of staff, not for long.
Also, who's he going to poach from where?
It's not too far-fetched to suggest he'll fuck with whatever leadership he installs at Twitter.
That's what the sync was for, so people can let it sink in that they're losing all their jobs.
All right.
Well,
what other plays do we have?
So yesterday I bought SPY calls. I was going to buy the 389s. I bought the 387s. Those actually turned out very well, 0 DTEs. So at the end of the day yesterday, I FOMO'd back into Friday expiries. And those calls, at least in pre-market, SPY's up. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to have Theta absolutely destroy my face, but we'll see what happens after that.
An interesting play I do want to call out is GSAT puts. I think it was November 18, $2 puts. The price is in the comments. Kind of curious, especially if the number of iPhones Apple sold isn't nearly as high as expected. The revenue GSAT is forecast to receive will be much lower because there aren't as many iPhones subscribed to its service.
Just a quick one, real quick, guys. Snoo Beans 322 wants to know, did Beyond appear anywhere in MAC earnings? And then furthermore, sorry, I'm just scrolling up real quick. What do you think about TELL? And let me know if it's below the threshold, guys. I'm just reading the comments, so feel free to chime in.
TELL, that's Teleron. It is a natural gas company. They are currently building, I think they just started earlier this year, their first facility. So they're not really much of a short-term play. I think right now it's trading somewhere between like $2.60 and $2.50 a share. That's $2.50 roughly. So in terms of short term, they've been kind of volatile. I wound up getting exercise, and if I had waited a bit longer to buy back my shares, I actually would have covered calls because it went right back to 250. So that one, not really much of a long-term or short-term play to be made yet. I'd say probably the end of next year, they might be a bit more juicy depending on how fast they're building that facility.
All right, and another question about Zim shipping, and then also, hey mods SMD said I did Twitter $50 puts November 18th, and then Dasmas Triffy 1 said XOM just hit 52 high. Sorry guys. And that's about it for now. Last thing on here is Rick22551 says, anyone buying I bonds?
Everyone should have I bonds by now. You have till the 31st. $10,000, safest investment you can make.
Yeah.
You have until the 28th of this month before the interest adjusts on them. Also,
What is
so
it,
if
like-
you're it's like 9.6 right now.
Damn, 9.6. All right.
The 28th is tomorrow, by the way. So if you haven't done it yet, ACH transfer will probably not get through till Monday.
Those are like crypto interest rates, but they're backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government instead of trust me, bro. So I would really consider that, folks.
I would also like to point out, if you think you can beat that interest rate, give me your money instead.
Yeah, because clearly you're a doofus.
Yeah, if you
Nice.
think you can beat those interest rates, you're already probably giving your money to Hardy or Sleepy Nate.
So guys, I'm gonna.
Was that human genome?
It was human genome. Go ahead.
How do you get the I bonds?
Go to treasurydirect.gov.
It's only for U.S. citizens, right?
Which is currently crashing because of the number of people trying to access those bonds.
No, it's for anyone with US dollars, looks like. It's not restricted to citizens.
So
unless I'm
It's kind of
misreading
an
it.
old layout website. It's a little confusing, but once you figure it out,
You are
get them
also
bonds.
limited. You're limited to $10,000 per year per tax return, I believe. I know people that have have started trusts so they can buy an additional 10,000 per trust.
So I'm looking on here. Not many comments on here for plays per se. Just a lot of opinions, which is good. So I know that we were going to talk about crypto a little bit. I don't want to step on any toes because we don't want to shill any stupid coins. But I do believe there was something in the works. Just kind of, if anybody wants to mention just kind of how the crypto market is working, like temperature wise. But talking about coins or trying to push your own coins is not acceptable on here. So I don't know if Scald wants to kind of open the door for that a little bit, talk something, but just about the temperature.
Well, I defer to opinion on this. Opinion, I know we talked about running a separate crypto trading chat where I did an introduction to crypto trading to everybody. Yeah, I defer to you.
Yeah, I think that's best left for a separate talk. But if we want to like quickly touch on it here, how or any big trades that you guys have in the works, absolutely go for it.
Obviously, crypto markets were up heavily yesterday on the announcement that basically commodities regulators are now considering both Bitcoin and Ethereum as commodities, and they're trying to take that away from the SEC. Their regulations are a little more loose than the SEC's, and so as a result, we just saw a crypto pump over the last 24 hours on that news. Broadly across the entire market, that's what happened.
And just as a reminder, guys, we're not shilling out any coins here. We're just getting temperatures of that market because it does play a little bit within the market, the main market itself, just as Forex does. But once again, Weary Wishbone 8426 says FCEL any plays. And John C 1982 wants to know any thoughts on Microsoft, and To Stay Fly Big Ballin wants to know about Matic.
FSL, you could probably sell puts below like the 250 strike or something like that. Matic, I believe, is the token for Polygon, which is what Reddit is using for their avatars. What else?
Microsoft plays. Let's talk about Microsoft.
All right, and then
I
we
mean,
got
they went really far from delta neutral after bouncing off of it prior to earnings. So there's a chance for mean reversion. You could probably sell puts below like the 225 level.
Do we think that? Oh, sorry, I've not followed this pairing too closely, but like Facebook, that's not going to Meta. That's not going to have any effect on Microsoft stock, is it? I mean, I would imagine Microsoft moves pretty independently from Meta's movements. But
Well,
correct me if I'm wrong, because some people have traded these two more closely than I have.
they actually move more or less in lockstep, with the exception of Meta's February earnings announcement.
Yeah, they're both pretty heavily like market correlated, partially because some of the big ETFs that hold a bunch of money hold a bunch of their stock. So like Apple, Microsoft, Google, those are the big movers about the SPY and the Qs. But yeah, the business models are pretty separated. Like Microsoft is quite diversified into their business services like Office 365. Obviously, they have their own operating system. They brand other people's hardware. They don't really make any of their own like chips or anything. But their name is all over a bunch of stuff, and they're becoming the new IBM as far as business services are concerned. So like they're not they're not as susceptible to market forces for up and coming tech, right? The VR, the advertising, the you can't do that with my personal data laws, like that kind of stuff. Because they're like, okay, cool, well, we'll keep selling Office to more people, and that's fine.
You think the ETFs are gonna dump the Meta shares because they were quite heavily loaded with the big tech, including Meta? What's gonna happen there?
No way.
They're not. They're less than 1%. Go look at the holdings.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not going to dump them, but they might have to adjust how much they're holding because a lot of those ETFs are designed to match market cap.
Right. So
That's
yeah, like it won't move the needle on the big ETFs. Obviously, there might be some smaller ones that hold more meta, like the what are they? The up and coming ETFs, like the QQJ. I'm not even going to try and remember the ticker, but the emerging tech ETF in the Nasdaq might be more affected, but I haven't heard anyone mention that ticker here in a long time, so I'm going to assume that no one else knows what the hell it is.
What about RKKK? Are they holding any shit ton of
Oh,
Meta?
just buy puts. Who knows? You're fine.
If the sun comes up, buy puts on RKKK.
Yeah. Come on. So real quick, update on the Fiserv play that I had a few weeks back. If you bought that, the calls should have free rolled your puts, and as of this morning, your puts might actually still print also. They're down 4.6% pre-market. So maybe both sides of this trade are going to be profitable. I'm pretty excited about it.
I have two earnings beat theta plays. One is Texas Instruments selling the 140, buying the 125 put, and McDonald's selling the 240, buying the 220 put. They just reported they did well. I don't expect a whole lot of news out of them, so that's a good way to just collect money while the IV's still high. December expiries.
Sorry about that. Just want to let everybody know once again. I see some punchback on this. The crypto talk is just a temperature in the air. It is not crypto talk. Essentially talking specifically about coins. So please keep that in mind. Other than that, we've covered most of these plays. I see a lot of comments based on plays that we've already talked about. So please do pay attention to the live calls if you want to get back on those tickers. And I'm done reading the comments, so you guys are feel free.
Do we think this SPY rally is going to continue? It's up a little bit pre-market. We think it's going to be a green day. How are we feeling, guys? We got 2 minutes left.
It's going down green, so I think it's green.
A lot of
I think we're going to
signals.
stay green till the end of earnings.
Yeah, we have two big earnings today after hours, Apple and Amazon. Apple, the past few earnings has held the market up pretty nicely, so we'll see what happens there. With Amazon, I know that they're doing head count within the next couple of weeks, so earnings I think will really decide the direction Amazon goes into the next year. So I'm probably bearish now on Amazon. I know Hardy, you've mentioned layoffs and so forth.
I do want to point out that SPY is at delta neutral, and the last 2 times it's done that, it's come back down. So this may be the end of the most recent bear rally.
Yeah, I'm still waiting. I'm gonna wait the first 2 hours of trading to play SPY. There's a lot of data that came out and the ECB hikes and jobless claims. So I'm just gonna wait, see how the market feels about it, let everything kind of resolve, and then take it from there. Because there's a lot of mixed signals in pre-market.
I just checked online, but you can't buy I bonds if you're not a U.S. citizen. Unfortunately.
I'll be your proxy. Well, you can cash at me some money.
Yeah, I'll send you 10K. No worries.
Anyone else enjoying this NVIDIA pump pre-market? I guess because of Meta announcing they're investing a lot into like the VR and they've got the AI chips.
I
Is
think it's crazy
NVIDIA
that
the
Meta.
vendor for Meta? What's the connection there? Is NVIDIA Meta's vendor for Oculus chips?
Yeah. So it's up 6% pre-market, which is pretty sweet.
I think it's because for the chips that they require for the data centers, could it be?
I'm gonna buy puts on that. I think it's dumb. And the reason why I think that that's a dumb rally is there's no way the amount of chips that you need to run AI, because I've done that before, versus crypto mining. Now that Ethereum is proof of stake, there's no way. Like you use so much less like actual hashing power to run AI models than you would to mine. So I still think NVIDIA is going to fall.
Market's open.
Good luck, everyone. Buy Crocs.
All right.
Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Don't lose too much money.